Hey everyone, it's Kayvon with Ascari Art. So I'm excited. We're about to do another painting demo. 48 by 60 canvas, pre-treated already, ready to go. If you're not familiar with how I treat my canvases before I start my alcohol ink painting, you can check it out. It's in my videos on my channel. I think it's how to prime a canvas for alcohol ink. That's the video. And you can watch that and it'll give you step-by-step tutorials on how I treat my canvases and how you may want to try to treat your canvas before you start painting alcohol ink on it. So with this 48 by 60, we're going to change up the colors a bit. I've been using a lot of blues, so we're going to get away from that for this painting. And I'm going to use a Copic E71 champagne color. We're going to use 3 Tim Holtz colors, Vineyard, Ember, and Sunshine Yellow. So we're going to try that. The other thing I'm going to do, my style is typically going from a soft to adding some brushwork. And the brushwork adds tension for me and little amounts of detail that I like. And I really like that in a lot of my pieces that I've been working on lately. It's just kind of this new thing I've been doing for the last year and a half. So I'm excited. Let's get started. For safety, please be safe when you're doing your paintings. I have a video again in my video section called Alcohol Ink Safety. You have to watch that if you haven't done so. It's going to help you with a lot of the questions that you may have. Just a quick overview, I will be using nitrile gloves, a respirator, goggles to prevent my eyes from drying out. And for the tools that I use brushes, various sizes. I'll use a Giotto lens cleaner that I have right here, and a blow dryer. Let's get started. Excited. Let's paint, and I'll talk about my process as we do it. All right, let's do it. So let's see here. Compositionally, let's start right here. So I put a lot of alcohol down in this area.
Hey everyone, let's start. So I'm trying this different way of actually doing a narration on top of my video sped up, so we can watch me paint at 330% speed with just me sharing my mindset and process as you watch me paint with music. So let's start. I've already added the purple, and I just added the orange, and now I just added champagne and more purple. And before I added those colors, you notice I added even more alcohol to the canvas. And the reason why I do that is because I want to make sure that there's enough alcohol for the ink to move through, because the alcohol starts drying pretty quickly. And if it dries too quickly, then I'm not going to have the chance to move it as far as I need to. It's not like watercolor where it takes the water a long time to dry, or you have to pat it dry. Now you can pat this dry if you want, but it kind of defeats and wastes the alcohol. So the goal right now for me is to add a foundation layer, and then I come back and do the brush work after this base color has been put down. And you may notice that just earlier I added a piece of napkin on the top of my blow dryer, and what that does is it just restricts airflow, and it allows the blow dryer to actually blow less air, so that there's no splash marks, especially when there's this much alcohol and ink on a canvas. When the blow dryer is too strong, it'll just splash everything everywhere and it becomes a mess. And I learned that from that one video where I was really frustrated. So now here I'm explaining that I'm going to try to push the ink out in various locations by adding alcohol. And personally, like looking back at this, I think it was a bad idea, because I already have a lot of alcohol in there. I'm continuing to add more. And I know why I was doing that, because I was worried that I don't have enough to spread the alcohol evenly through the canvas, throughout the rest of the areas of the canvas. But it's a fine balance, because I'm I'm balancing the airflow from the blow dryer and the time that I've got before this alcohol dries. And as I'm doing all this, there's a few other elements that I'm thinking about. One element is obviously composition with the colors. So I'm playing with balance here, and adding the orange and the yellow in the opposite caddy corner, top right corner of the canvas. The other thing I'm doing is I've got a lot of alcohol on the canvas, and it starts bleeding and muddying up the colors. So the other objective is for me to not let all the colors blend together and leave certain areas that are very bright and blended. But if I let everything just pool up in the middle, then we're going to have an issue. It's going to look brown and muddy. We don't want that. So here I'm just struggling with the pooling effect that happens on a canvas, because a canvas, the center will always cause a pooling, because that's where the least amount of tension ends up going. The alcohol tends to move towards the center of the canvas. So, and that's a challenge just with working with canvas and any very fluid material. Oils, if you water down oils, it'll do that, or thin down oils. If you water down acrylics, they'll do that. It's a very similar characteristic. It's just with alcohol, you're struggling with the drying at a fast speed and the liquid form, just very liquid form. And alcohol inks, as you may know if you played and dabbled with alcohol inks, they don't always mix. When you mix them together, they don't always make the color that you thought it would make. So like blue and yellow most of the time make green, but depends on what blue you use and what green you use with alcohol inks, because it can make rust, the rust color. It can make almost a black. So yeah, blue and yellow don't always make green when it comes to alcohol ink. And I think it's because of the pigments that they use inside of the ink to make those colors. So now I've come around, because I've noticed as I'm working on this, I haven't been able to hit the top or your bottom of the canvas on the screen. So I had to kind of just push that back down. So now this canvas is 48 by 60, so I'm having to lean over it, and it hurts your back after a while. But you tend to just tighten your core and keep going. You forget that your back hurts. You only remember when you're done, when you stop. So you notice the alcohol is drying, so I'm continuing to add alcohol on the bottom of the painting on your screen. And what I'm trying to do is spread it enough across the rest of the canvas so there's a very nice distribution of color. The way you do that is with alcohol. So it looks like I'm wasting it, but it's helping me move it. So right now in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, I want a very light effect on the right, and I want this congestion of dark in the third of the painting on the left, as you can see. So you see how I'm lightening the right. I'm making it very light and airy, and then I'm bringing that dark red towards the center. But I also want it to have some kind of flow and direction, so that when I go in with a paintbrush and start doing those little fine lines of fracture and compression, it just helps the visual, the viewer's eye. And I tend to leave white areas or negative space in my painting, because I want the viewer to be able to rest, like their eye when they're looking through it. The negative space is an area for the eye to rest. And this is all just my opinion, just based on painting. And so I tend to do that. I like unfinished sometimes, unfinished areas. Uh, some examples of that are like Edgar Degas, his ballerina or his bathtub series, or just his sketches. He would always leave, because they were quick sketches, he would just leave them uh, to the viewer's imagination, almost unfinished. And that always intrigued me, and it still does to this day. So I try to accomplish some of that effect in some of my paintings. So the light, airy effects that you see, that's just kind of this, it emulates this unfinished feel. And now what I'm doing is working direction into the painting in the base layer now. This is the base layer still, but we're building a direction and a flow. Trying to push that orange further in. Now I'm creating these spots, these areas that will be concentrated pigment, so that it's giving me a direction. I'm letting it speak to me as well. So I'm moving it, but I'm also letting the alcohol speak to me. And when I say speak to me, I mean it kind of starts revealing itself of where those compressions should be, where those little fractures and brushwork should be. So now I'm working the bottom. Well, the top on my end, but the bottom on screen. So I'm just using the brush to help guide some of that direction. Just drawing the line helps the alcohol go there, and it helps the brush just kind of sets a few marks that help just remind me where I need to be. Now it is a lot of alcohol right now, so I'm still continuing to let it dry. I'm on the cold setting. So with the cold setting, it just, helps it dry slower. Now I can switch it over to hot and it would dry fairly quickly. But that's not what we want. We want to be able to move this. We want to be able to add some soft edges and still work on the direction. And if you haven't done so, be sure to subscribe. Hit the little notification bell on the right of the screen. That'll help me. It'll notify you as well anytime I publish a video or go live. I do go live every once in a while to kind of just speak to the subscribers, answer some questions as I paint, and you can kind of interact with me as I'm painting. So it just helps you. So if you don't subscribe and you don't hit that little bell, you won't know that I'm online doing a live Q&A. Okay, so I'm done here. I'm taking a break, and what I'm doing here is I'm explaining that I like to take a picture of the painting with my phone, and it'll help me because I can zoom out and look at it from a further angle. I can spin the photo on my phone, look at it from different perspectives and angles. But right now it's hard to see composition. It's hard to see the painting as an overall painting because it's flat. And it just helps me as I'm taking a break. I can come back to it in a day or two and check it out and look at it, and I kind of have an idea, a fresh look and outlook to come back and just paint again. So that's it. I really appreciate you watching me paint, and I hope that some of my advice is helpful. Thank you, Ascari Art.